RV living in the mainland US has turned into a joke. Exploding campground fees, utility spikes.
A 20-year-old camper he bought for $5,000, parked in an RV lot in Graysville, Tennessee, just north of Chattanooga.
And reservation chaos everywhere you look. But here's the twist nobody warned you about. 10 US territories are still living on a totally different cost structure. And R-Veeers can move there right now. These islands never joined the mainland pricing insanity. No runaway rent. No peak season scams. No corporate campground chains swallowing up every open acre. Instead, you get stability, predictable bills, and long-term RV spots that actually stay affordable month after month. And the craziest part? Most Americans don't even realize they can live there freely under US protection. No visas, no countdown clocks, no red tape. But when people discover what these territories really offer, the rush will begin. So let's jump into number 10, Saipan, where the mainland cost structure breaks. Far from the noise of the continental markets, Saipan has become the island that quietly exposes how distorted mainland pricing has become. For anyone trying to live full-time in a motorhome, the moment you compare monthly bills, the difference is not subtle. It is structural. Mainland energy companies continue raising rates quarter after quarter. But on Saipan, the average power draw for a modest motorhome setup runs between $38 and $55 because local utilities operate on a simplified grid with lower distribution overhead. That alone changes the entire cost baseline. But it is only the opening crack in a much larger gap. Fuel costs follow the same pattern. Shipping lanes tied to regional carriers bring steadier pricing, while mainland states swing wildly whenever refinery disruptions or storm seasons hit. Groceries show another split. According to recent territorial consumer sheets, core staples land at price points noticeably below many coastal regions, especially when you rely on local markets instead of mainland-style retail chains. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, just steady numbers that hold while mainland figures drift upward. Housing and land leases are where Saipan really pulls away. Setups for small motorhomes or converted vans can secure long-term placement under lease rates far below inland American averages, and without the unpredictable fee spikes that mainland parks continue slipping into their seasonal rate structures. Here, stability is not a perk, it is the default. Saipan also avoids the crowded park problem that has become normal across the lower 48. You are not fighting for a reservation window, you are not dealing with wait lists, and you are not being pressured into premium upsells. The environment stays calm because demand stays realistic. All of this leads to a single conclusion. Saipan is not cheap by accident. It is affordable because its systems never joined the mainland race toward higher margins and higher fees. For anyone trying to stretch a fixed income or avoid another round of insurance and campground inflation, Saipan delivers something the mainland has forgotten how to offer: predictable living. And if Saipan showed you the system breaking, St. Croix proves the numbers don't lie. St. Croix, predictable monthly costs in a United States run market. Some places show their value the moment the bills arrive, and St. Croix is one of the few where the math proves itself quickly. It sits under full United States oversight, so essential protections stay familiar. But the real strength is how quietly the expenses move. Mainland costs jump in abrupt waves. Here, they shift in measured steps, and that difference keeps monthly living manageable for anyone relying on steady income. Housing is the clearest example. Inland rentals and long-term land access regularly land around 18 to 25% below comparable coastal American regions, according to Department of the Interior consumer comparisons. That gap is not theory. It shows up the moment you compare real totals. And unlike mainland parks, where rate hikes strike suddenly, adjustments in St. Croix usually unfold slowly, giving you time to plan instead of react under pressure. Utilities follow the same dependable pattern. Local energy grids operate on stable schedules, so power bills stay inside narrow bands rather than snapping upward during mainland heat waves or winter swings. Water and waste services hold their line too, without the rapid fee shifts that have become routine across many states. It is cost behavior you can track without fear of hidden jolts. Food and basic goods support the same message. Imported items rise at moments, but local markets and agricultural stands keep essentials affordable. Shoppers who lean on regional produce often come in lower than mainland grocery averages. It is steady pricing built on predictable supply, not markup games. For motorhome owners, this stability carries real weight. When core expenses remain consistent, long-term planning becomes practical again. You are no longer dodging surprise campground surcharges or unexplained insurance recalculations. You are operating inside a system that respects predictable living. That is why St. Croix earns its place. It does not rely on flash or promises. It delivers understandable monthly numbers. And for anyone frustrated by mainland volatility, this island stands as a reminder that reliable cost structures still exist. But the next island goes even deeper. Rota is where overhead drops to levels most R-Veeers won't believe. If you're finding value in these overlooked territories, make sure you like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next update. Share your thoughts below, because hearing how these places compare to your experience helps shape what we uncover next. Rota, one of the lowest overhead regions under United States sovereignty. Some islands reveal their value without making noise, and Rota is one of the strongest examples. It does not chase big development. It does not lean on tourism waves, and it does not mirror the mainland pattern of non-stop fee increases. Instead, it runs on a slower financial rhythm, where supply, demand, and community size stay in balance. For anyone living full-time in a motorhome, that balance turns into real savings the moment you begin adding up the basics. Start with land access. Long-term leases often fall between $300 and $540, a range that feels almost impossible beside mainland park pricing. There are no sudden seasonal jumps, no bundled resort charges, and no competitive booking windows. You secure a spot and live under a cost structure that actually holds steady. That alone separates Rota from nearly every region across the lower 48. Daily essentials match the same tone. Local markets keep produce at levels below many coastal American areas, especially when you rely on regional staples. Shipping expenses appear, but they move gradually and rarely disrupt a budget. Because the population stays small, demand stays realistic, preventing the inflation swings that hit mainland towns whenever housing shortages or tourism surges collide. Energy costs add another layer of predictability. Rota's streamlined grid keeps monthly power usage in a narrow band, far from the spikes driven by mainland weather extremes. Water access and waste services keep a similar pace, avoiding the rapid adjustments that have become normal throughout the United States. For motorhome living, this calm financial landscape matters more than any single discount. When essential bills behave predictably, long-term planning becomes practical again. You know what a month will cost, and you can prepare without worrying about sudden changes. It is straightforward living, built on systems that move at a reasonable pace. Its stability is felt in every monthly total today. Now let's shift to St. Thomas, the island with US-level infrastructure, but nowhere near US-level prices. St. Thomas, United States-level infrastructure, without mainland prices. There are places where the numbers speak before the scenery does, and St. Thomas is one of them. This island operates with the structure and reliability of a fully managed United States territory, yet its cost behavior refuses to follow the mainland's upward climb. For anyone living full-time in a motorhome, that difference appears quickly in the essentials that shape monthly living. Begin with infrastructure. St. Thomas offers something rare in island regions: dependable stores, functional clinics, established roadways, and steady shipping lanes. That stabilizes pricing in ways many mainland cities no longer manage. When coastal states struggle with shortages, St. Thomas holds its line because its supply chain ties directly into United States distribution routes. The outcome is straightforward: consistent availability without mainland-style markups. Daily spending follows the same logic. Local comparisons show household essentials landing below similar coastal American markets, especially when leaning on regional goods instead of imported specialty items. Recognizable stores create a pricing baseline that moves gently rather than jolting upward each month. It is measured economics, not runaway inflation. Utilities stay predictable as well. Power usage remains within steady ranges because the grid operates on controlled scheduling. Water access and waste services hold firm, avoiding the sudden adjustments that have become routine across the lower 48. You can project monthly totals without the stress of hidden fees. Medical access adds another layer of security. Clinics and hospitals built to United States standards prevent the extreme travel costs that hit other island territories. Care is reachable, regulated, and supported, reducing the financial shock that comes from unexpected medical needs. For motorhome living, this combination matters. Stable utilities, grounded grocery pricing, and accessible healthcare form a monthly rhythm that protects a fixed income. You know what the next month will cost, and you can plan your path without guessing what the mainland will do next. St. Thomas earns its position because it proves that reliable infrastructure does not have to carry mainland-level pricing. It delivers order without excess and structure without surcharge. And if you thought things couldn't get calmer or cheaper, American Samoa flips the script completely. American Samoa, community-driven costs under United States protection. American Samoa reveals its value the moment you watch how the local economy moves. It is not driven by corporate expansion, speculative development, or tourism spikes. Instead, it operates on a community-centered rhythm where people rely on shared resources, consistent habits, and a slower pace that keeps inflation from climbing out of control. For anyone living full-time in a motorhome, that difference becomes clear the moment you compare month-to-month spending against mainland volatility. Begin with food. Local markets and village stands anchor the cost structure, offering produce, fish, and essentials at totals below many coastal American regions. Imported items rise at times, but core staples stay steady because they come directly from the island's own network of growers and fishermen. It is a supply chain built on people rather than corporations, and that keeps spending predictable. Housing and land access follow the same calm pattern. Long-term placements for small motorhomes or converted vans often fall within modest ranges, designed to support local living rather than exploit demand. These costs sit below mainland averages, and more importantly, they shift slowly. There are no sudden seasonal jumps or surprise fees added without notice. Changes arrive gradually, giving you room to plan. Utilities remain consistent as well. Power usage holds within narrow ranges because the grid is stable and demand remains modest. Water access follows community systems that avoid rapid fee adjustments. Waste services operate under simple structures that keep monthly totals grounded. It is straightforward math that benefits anyone managing income. Medical access adds another layer of stability. Clinics, supported by United States standards, provide essential care without the extreme travel expenses seen in more remote regions. Emergency needs do not always require long-distance transport, preventing the financial shock that mainland retirees often face when distance multiplies a bill. For motorhome living, American Samoa offers something rare, a financial environment shaped by community rather than aggressive pricing. When essential expenses stay predictable, planning becomes easier and your income stretches further. American Samoa earns its place because it proves that stability is not theoretical, it is lived and maintained. And next, we move to a territory where convenience rises again while prices remain grounded. Guam, the practical alternative to Hawaii. Guam stands out the moment you place its cost structure beside Hawaii's. Both offer warm weather, ocean views, and full United States protections, but the financial paths they follow could not be more different. Hawaii has spent decades drifting into higher margins, higher taxes, and higher everyday prices. Guam, meanwhile, holds on to a steadier, grounded rhythm that makes full-time motorhome living far more realistic. Start with housing and land access. While Hawaii pushes placement costs into ranges that overwhelm fixed incomes, Guam keeps long-term setups within totals that fall noticeably lower. Community zoning, moderated demand, and a balanced population keep leasing from spiraling upward. You secure your placement, and it stays stable month after month. There are no sudden fee spikes, no seasonal premiums, and no competitive reservation chaos. Groceries reveal the next contrast. Hawaii's food prices rise fast whenever shipping lanes tighten. Guam maintains steadier rates by relying on regional carriers, military-linked supply routes, and community markets that buffer sudden increases. Shoppers who lean on local produce routinely land under comparable Hawaiian totals. It is steady arithmetic, not unpredictable inflation. Utilities bring another advantage. Power usage on Guam remains in a consistent band because the grid runs on predictable schedules and moderated demand. Water access and waste services follow the same pattern, avoiding the sharp adjustments that have become normal across many mainland states and Hawaiian counties. When your utilities behave, your monthly planning becomes practical. Healthcare access adds quiet strength. Regulated clinics and regional hospitals prevent the extreme travel distances that Hawaii's outer islands often require. Essential care stays reachable, and emergencies do not automatically translate into long-distance transport transport bills. For motorhome living, Guam delivers something many assume no longer exists: a tropical region with predictable monthly totals. You know what fuel will cost. You know where groceries land. You know utilities will not explode without warning. That control is the opposite of Hawaii's unpredictable swings. Guam earns its position because it proves that island living does not have to drain your income. It provides structure without inflated pricing and comfort without financial strain. But St. John is different. Protected land, limited development, and built-in budget control you won't find anywhere else. If you want the next set of territories before they're crowded, hit subscribe now. Every new video breaks down real conditions, real costs, and real opportunities long before they reach the mainstream. Staying subscribed ensures you stay ahead while the options are still open. St. John, the territory with built-in budget control. St. John is one of the places where the landscape is stunning, yet the cost structure stays grounded. The island looks like a postcard, but it behaves like a financial safeguard. Nearly 2/3 of the land rests under protected status, and that single fact shapes how money moves here. Limited development means limited speculation, and when speculation disappears, price pressure eases. For anyone living full-time in a motorhome, the result is simple. Your monthly spending becomes genuinely manageable. Start with housing and land access. Because construction is restricted across large portions of St. John, the island avoids the rapid cycle building booms that push mainland pricing upward. Long-term placements for motorhomes remain steady because demand cannot spike wildly. A town may grow, but the hillside behind it never turns into a high-rise zone. That stability keeps space costs from drifting into unreachable territory, and the absence of constant expansion removes hidden fees tied to growth. Groceries and daily essentials follow the same calm pattern. Protected land means local markets lean on regional produce and small-scale suppliers. Prices rise occasionally, but not with the sharp edge seen in mainland cities where distribution networks shift weekly. When your supply chain is close to home, your receipt stays predictable. That consistency turns each month into a known figure rather than a guess. Utilities reflect that same measured pace. St. John's grid operates on steady patterns. Power usage stays in a narrow band because the island's infrastructure does not carry the strain of explosive population surges. Water access and waste management follow established systems that adjust gradually. When your utilities behave, your budget breathes easier. Transportation offers another advantage. Distances are short, routes are simple, and fuel use stays modest. A full tank lasts longer here than in many coastal American regions. That helps motorhome owners maintain control over monthly totals without feeling squeezed by fuel volatility. St. John earns its position because it proves that natural limits can become financial strengths. When development is held in check, costs stay stable, and predictable living becomes possible again. Now let's move to Puerto Rico, where you get mainland stores and services without the mainland chaos. Puerto Rico, mainland stores with territory-level costs. Puerto Rico delivers something rare, the structure of the mainland, with the spending rhythm of a territory that refuses to overheat. At first glance, the island feels busy, but once you track your motorhome budget month after month, the pattern becomes clear. Costs move in steady lines rather than unpredictable spikes, and that stability becomes a financial anchor. National chains operate here, shelves stay stocked, and familiar brands remain available, yet the overall pressure on your wallet softens noticeably. The clearest example appears in retail behavior. Mainland stores adjust their inventory to match local demand rather than chase the aggressive margins common in large states. That shift lowers the strain on everyday essentials. Groceries, hardware, maintenance supplies, and household items move through predictable price ranges. The wild swings seen in coastal American markets rarely show up here. When your motorhome lifestyle depends on routine control, predictable receipts matter. Housing follows a similar pattern. San Juan carries energy and density, but outside that corridor, costs settle into calmer ranges. Inland towns maintain balanced pricing because demand spreads across the island naturally. When no single region absorbs the entire push for development, the runaway spikes common in mainland growth zones never appear. That gives long-term parking, land access, and monthly placement a level of predictability that makes planning easier. Transportation reinforces that sense of control. Distances remain short, routes remain simple, and a full tank lasts longer than expected. Local supply chains keep fuel movements steady, avoiding the volatility caused by interstate logistics. When distribution stays on island, price swings shrink. That reduces one of the biggest uncertainties for motorhome owners who watch every gallon closely. Healthcare strengthens the picture further. Puerto Rico holds modern hospitals, trained specialists, and familiar systems. While costs can rise in certain pockets, the baseline remains lower than many mainland regions. Knowing what your medical spending will likely look like removes another source of stress. Puerto Rico earns its position because it blends familiarity with restraint. You get the comfort of mainland systems supported by the softer cost behavior of a territory. The next territory might be the most overlooked of all, Tinian, where your money lasts longer than anywhere on this list. Tinian, where money lasts the longest. Tinian reveals its value the moment you compare one full month of spending to any mainland region. The island runs on a quiet economic rhythm that limits waste, slows inflation, and turns predictable costs into a genuine advantage for anyone living full-time in a motorhome. Life moves at a slower pace here, and that slower pace translates directly into spending that stays under control. It is not just affordable, it is consistent, and consistency is where savings begin. Start with daily essentials. On Tinian, local markets rely on regional suppliers and steady community demand. That means groceries, household goods, and basic maintenance materials rarely swing in price the way they do across the United States coastlines. When distribution chains are short and reliable, the receipt stays stable. That alone helps month-to-month budgets stay anchored rather than drifting into surprise territory. Then look at housing and land access. Tinian avoids the development surges that drive mainland volatility. Long-term placements for motorhomes sit in calm ranges because demand never explodes overnight. The landscape remains open, population growth stays measured, and the absence of speculative construction keeps costs from rising sharply. A stable environment makes long-term planning straightforward. Transportation provides another clear advantage. Distances are short, routes are simple, and fuel usage stays low. A single tank stretches farther because traffic is minimal and daily movement rarely covers long ground. Local supply lines keep fuel adjustments mild, avoiding the rapid jumps that often hit mainland drivers. Every gallon saved becomes money kept. Utilities follow the same measured tone. Power usage remains predictable because demand remains modest. Water access and waste systems operate on steady patterns that adjust slowly. When utility bills do not shift unpredictably, financial stress fades. Medical access adds reassurance. Tinian maintains basic care on island, and more advanced services remain reachable in Saipan or Guam without extreme travel cost. Consistent healthcare spending strengthens the long-term outlook. Tinian earns its position because it shows how stability multiplies savings over time. When every major expense moves in steady lines, income stretches farther than expected. And finally, the wild card, Palau, the only place where U.S. citizens can stay indefinitely, and the cost stability is unreal. Palau, the indefinite stay loophole. Under the Compact of Free Association, Palau stands apart because it offers something almost unheard of in modern travel rules: the ability for United States citizens to stay indefinitely under the full terms of the Compact of Free Association. That single agreement quietly reshapes the financial outlook for anyone considering long-term motorhome, living in a region where stability matters more than spectacle. The landscape feels untouched, the pace slows instantly, and the expenses fall into steady patterns that help monthly budgets hold their shape. Few places offer beauty and predictability in equal measure, yet Palau manages both. Begin with the foundation of the loophole itself. Under the Compact of Free Association, United States citizens enter Palau without visas, without renewal cycles, and without the usual countdown clock that governs nearly every other destination. That freedom changes the cost equation. You can plan months or years ahead without the expense of periodic travel, document fees, or forced resets. Predictability becomes a structural advantage rather than a luxury. Daily spending reinforces that sense of control. Local markets rely on community suppliers and regional fishing routes that keep essential items within measured ranges. Prices rise at times, but never with the sudden jolt familiar to mainland shoppers. When every grocery run follows a known pattern, motorhome budgeting becomes easier and less stressful. Housing and land access add another layer of stability. Palau does not experience the speculative development waves that dominate coastal American regions. That absence of rapid construction prevents runaway placement fees and keeps long-term space costs in steady alignment. With limited population pressure, land value shifts gradually rather than abruptly. Transportation strengthens the picture further. Distances stay short, roads remain calm, and fuel usage drops naturally. A single tank stretches farther here than in almost any United States coastal region. Local supply lines keep fuel adjustments modest, preventing the unpredictable spikes that challenge long-distance travelers. Healthcare access remains basic but reliable, and advanced treatment sits within reach in Guam, Manila, or Honolulu without excessive travel hurdles. Consistent medical planning rounds out the long-term outlook. Palau earns its position because it merges rare legal freedom with financial steadiness. When the rules allow you to stay indefinitely and the costs move in predictable lines, long-range planning finally becomes practical. And there you have it, the places most Americans overlook, but R-Veeers can still claim before the rush hits. Now tell me in the comments, which territory would you move to today if you could? If you got value out of this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next hidden RV opportunity.